I'm Sierra Sellers, and you're listening to Poor Man's Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 565 Live in Bellevue. We are here with our special guest, who we can't be more excited for, Mr. Rick Sebak. Rick, how are you doing tonight?
No complaints. I feel really good. And this place is really cool.
There we go. There's the applause. I normally have a sound guy that does it, but tonight I'm doing video and audio, so it's a little delayed. You'll have to forgive me. But we cannot be more excited. I don't think I've ever been more excited for a guest.
Thanks.
Nothing against the other guests. I'm excited all the time, but it's a legend right here.
Hey, that seems weird. You kept saying that, a legend.
You are for, at least for me. I loved the doc, which is weird for a kid, I think, to really be into a documentary. Like for I don't know, for like some of the things, I'd like to watch a cartoon or a sport thing. I don't want to watch the Squirrel Hill Tunnel thing. And the older I get, and like well, even back then I was interested in it, and I think you have a way with words that makes everything seem interesting.
Cool. No, that's very nice of you. That's a compliment.
I didn't mean it to sound rude in the beginning.
I just think, from even some shows I did when I worked in South Carolina for public television, kids are the hardest audience. There's no question. And, I can remember the first time this 12-year-old called me and said, "Hey, he said, I just want you to know I know Kennywood Memories by heart."
Yeah, that's exactly how we were growing up. I was.
And the odd thing is, he said he wanted to come see us work, and I was working on the strip show at the time.
Yeah.
And he said, "My dad will bring me down.
Yeah.
You tell me when." So I said, "Well, Saturday's obviously the best day to be in the strip." And his father brought him down. If you see the strip show, I always say it's "Where's Andrew?" Because he's in it like 8 times. Once even identified by a vendor as, "What's your name?" He says, "Andrew."
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's 12 years old, but I still know him.
Oh, wow.
And, he worked for KDKA Radio for a while, and he works for that group of radio stations up in Green Tree.
Oh, okay.
And, and we're still friends. He went to Point Park to school and everything. And
wow.
I'm guessing he's in his late 30s now.
That's crazy. And how old was he?
He was 12, I think.
Oh, wow.
But I've been at QED 35 years, so things like that can happen.
I was just going to ask how long you've been there and kind of how you got into starting there. I'm kind of interested in your entire path. Like, growing up, is this something you wanted to do? Or what did you want to be when you were little? And how did you go on the path to starting making films and documentaries?
I don't think I ever really knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wasn't a kid who had a drive to, be on television or anything like that. My mom was very active in the Bethel Park Community Theater.
Oh, okay.
Stage 62, and it's now in Carnegie, and it's going to be 60 years old this year.
Oh, wow.
They asked me to be the MC for their party.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing to me to think, wow, yeah, I can remember the first show. I saw the first show in 1962. I would have been 9 years old.
Yeah.
But because of that, I think I was aware, and, I did, class plays in high school and stuff like that. And actually, we had one really great teacher, Paul Moshnick, and he realized there were a bunch of us that year that were interested in that kind of thing. And we had an experimental theater at Bethel Park High School called Theater 400. It was in room 400. I mean, we did bizarre things. That to this day, I think, wow.
Yeah.
This is really daring and stuff like that. And, we did a Sam Shepard play. It was Sam Shepard was still really weird and off Broadway and stuff, but we did a little play, and I think people just didn't pay attention to us a lot.
Yeah. Was it original stuff you were coming up with, or were you doing versions of other things?
We did mostly plays that we found. I remember, this is so weird. I was a foreign exchange student.
What?
To Brazil.
Wow, that's interesting.
My brothers in Brazil, my foreign exchange brothers, had a Playboy.
Okay.
And in the Playboy, there was a play by Kurt Vonnegut.
Okay.
Called Fortitude, which was never produced.
Yeah.
It was a screenplay, I think. And I read it.
I
read an article in Playboy.
I read
a
That's what everyone says, right?
I read a play in Playboy. And I ripped it out of my brother's Playboy magazine.
Yeah, get rid of that.
They didn't read English, so what?
Yeah.
And I brought it back, and we actually did that.
Wow.
We did that as one of the plays, and actually, my friend Marianne played the lead in it. I still know her. She lives on Mount Washington. You know, some good stuff came out of Theater 400. But anyway, so I was involved in all of that and did lots of theater in high school. But when I went to school, I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Okay.
And I always knew that I'd be an English major, essentially. I like to read, I like to write. But I sort of set my path on a English and theater. And I did start that, and I was in a couple of plays there. And then one Saturday, all of us in the theater, you know, the young, I guess, freshmen in the theater class were asked to go to Raleigh, North Carolina, to this TV station where students from the TV school were doing a Saturday workshop. And I went there, and I thought the teacher was so great. I said, I want to take a class with him.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, well, you have to be a major. And I said, well, I'll be a major. I don't care. So I changed my major from theater to what the University of North Carolina then called RTVMP, Radio, Television, Motion Pictures.
Okay.
It's now the College of Communication or something like that.
That's a lot easier to say.
Yeah. But that's really what got me interested in TV and learning how to direct. And
that shows how much that like a good teacher can influence what you do.
No question. I've always thought that, you know, a teacher and that teacher's enthusiasms can really have an effect on kids.
I've had, growing up, I'm lucky. I always love math, but I've always had really good math teachers too. And I wonder if that is more because I like it or because somebody made it enjoyable for me, or if it's a little bit of both, probably.
Yeah, no. You know, I can still remember individual classes, where you just think like, wow, this teacher really makes this live.
It's not like they're just getting to the next class. They're enjoying every time we come in.
Exactly.
And it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I've studied literature and poetry and all sorts of like writing throughout my career. And I never got into it till near the end of high school necessarily. I've had a lot of teachers where it just seemed like spit the plot back to me, comprehend. But I never really understood how to analyze literature till my last year, or maybe my junior year of high school, where I finally had a teacher that made me appreciate the content. And I think it's great if you could use that to steer it, and like you're able to launch like a successful TV career out of it. And I think it's just great that like if you can find someone who's capable to influence someone to contribute better, or follow their dreams, or whatever it is, you know, it really makes all the difference.
Right. There's no question. Yeah.
So what was the path from being there at the School of Communications, right? I mean, I would talk about it and stuff. My mother sent me an article out of the old Pittsburgh Press. Oh, okay.
That said, Josie Carey is doing a children's soap opera in South Carolina. Well, Josie Carey was on WQED. She was on the first show we made, which was called Children's Corner with Josie Carey and Fred Rogers. 1954. And she was doing a show in South Carolina called Whee!
Oh, yeah.
WHEEE exclamation point.
It sounds fun.
It wasn't just a children's soap opera, but it had a children's soap opera in it.
Oh, okay.
Bertha Beetle's Boarding House for Bugs, the day-to-day true life story that asks the question, can a lonely little ladybug, you know, manage a boarding house? And, you know, I can't remember the rest of it, but that's the way it started. It's like an old radio drama.
Oh, okay.
Done with puppets. And they got sort of the premier voices of Columbia, South Carolina to do the monarch butterfly, you know, like sort of W.C. Fields and various different things. It was real. When I saw it, I was just like amazed at how the quality of it. But I saw it because I wrote Josie a letter, and I said, I'm a TV student in North Carolina. You're in South Carolina. I'm looking for a summer internship. And she said, why don't you come down on your... I said, I remember her from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And she said, come down on your spring break. We'd like to meet you. So I went down. They said, great, let's do this. And I did a summer internship in the summer of 1973 at the PBS station in Columbia, South Carolina, which is part of the SCETV network. In South Carolina, it's a very rural state.
Yeah.
They have stations all over the state. The center is in Columbia, the capital. And so I went there for that summer, and I loved it. I just really loved it.
Yeah.
So then I went away to Europe for a year. I did my junior year abroad in France. And when I came back, Josie said, come back and work with us.
So that was technically the second time you studied abroad then, at that point.
I did a summer, 3 months in Brazil when I was in high school, and then a year in France when I was in college. And I went back and I worked with Josie in 74, and after I graduated from college in 76, I started looking for a job, and I was looking and sending out resumes. And back when you used to have to type everything.
So where were you at this point? Were you still in North Carolina, or were you
I was
back?
in North Carolina a lot. I was back here in Pittsburgh. I mean, I grew up in Bethel Park. My parents were still in Bethel Park. And actually, I was here when a girl that I had been in France with, whose mother worked for a bank, saw something go across her desk, and she made a copy of it. She said, it looks like someone's going to make a movie in Chapel Hill this summer. And her boss at the bank had something to do with the frat house where they were going to put everybody up. And so anyway, it was enough information that I then contacted them, and I said, I know Chapel Hill. I'd like to work on a movie. And they said, great, let's do it. And they hired me to be like a grunt thing, but I quickly moved up in their thing because I knew the town and no one else did. Everybody else was from Philly or New York or wherever. And we made a little movie. That when we were shooting, it was called Country Boy. And it was essentially the story of Joseph in the Coat of Many Colors. Told with a Porsche of many colors. But the father gave the youngest son a Porsche that sort of was painted like Peter Max. If you will. Sort of psychedelic painted. Porsche. And his brothers were very jealous. Excuse me. And so I worked on that movie. It was later released. My parents saw it here in Pittsburgh. It was called Teenage Graffiti. Not American Graffiti.
I was going to say, wait, that sounds familiar, and I was like, no, that's American Graffiti.
Teenage Graffiti. It was a ripoff.
The great value
made
version.
It enough, and actually, I found a DVD of it eventually. On like a 2 sleazy, cheesy movies. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. And so I worked on that, and then after that, and I couldn't find a job. I was, desperately looking, and South Carolina called me one day and said, hey, we got a big contract to do a energy conservation film for the federal government. We need a production assistant. Are you interested? And I said, yes. And I went back, and I was working on that, and I hated it. I hated the script. I hated everything, and I rewrote the script. And I can't believe the chutzpah.
I was going to say, and did you give it back and say, this is how it should have?
I gave it to the writer, and I said, here's how I would do this. And she said,
you're fired.
Well, it's really, no, she said, this is very interesting. She said, it's really good and fun. And she said, but mine has been through mountains of approvals at the federal level. And we can't start that whole process over. She said, but there's an opening in our department for a writer. Why don't you apply?
Okay.
Well, then she must have liked what you read.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I became what they first called a writer-developer, and then later a writer-producer, and all of that. And I worked at South Carolina Public Television, South Carolina ETV, for 11 years. And I did all kinds of things. I mean, I did a lot of grunt work. I did a lot of public service announcements. And then I got linked up. First another girl I knew in college went to work for Doubleday Books in New York. And one day she called and said, I have to add people to their reviewers list. And I know that you I also worked for the Daily Tar Heel while I was in college.
Is that North Carolina's newspaper?
That's UNC's
newspaper.
Right.
Student one.
And so, and I wrote reviews. And she said, could I put your name on the review list? I said, sure. And then I started to get boxes of books every week. It's incredible. I mean, I got a lot of books from Doubleday. And then I contacted the newspaper and I said, can I write book reviews for you? I get all these books.
Oh, yeah.
And so because of that, then someone at the station said, why don't you come on my arts show and read your reviews like Gene Shalit does on
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, great. So
Yeah.
I did that. And then I did that for
That sounds fun.
a month or two. And then the guy who ran the nightly show said, I really like those things you do on the arts show. Come on my show, you'll get a bigger audience.
Yeah.
I like that because you're really taking the initiative here, where like when people are getting into an entry level job or trying to get their feet in somewhere, whether it's for the first time, you're fresh out of college. I just like that you took the initiative to like rewrite a script and be proactive about things and be
Right,
like,
and obviously it paid off for you.
It's a very high risk that really paid off in the long run.
That's kind of what, like I was saying about like having a nice teacher, just having somebody like enthusiastic about what you're doing makes everything like way smoother and it's way more enjoyable.
Right. Well, I mean, and then so I stayed 11 years in South Carolina, working for South Carolina ETV.
Yeah.
I mean, and it became stupendous. And I mean, and there was just a thing in the New York Times this week about friends at work.
Yeah.
So important.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, you probably spend more time with people at work than anyone.
Right.
Yeah,
And so,
I've thought about that before because when I started working at my job, initially it was just me and my boss, and I was like, wow, I see him more than my girlfriend. Like, if you don't count sleeping time, like time awake, like
Right.
you probably
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
no. And so, I mean, but I had great friends, and I loved people that I worked with, and I still know them and talk to them, and text all the time.
Oh, it
and-
sounds like it if you remember the 12-year-old from the strip.
yeah, but I mean, friends are so crucial. And anyway, a guy that I had worked with in South Carolina, who had moved on to the public television station in Denver, called me one day. And he said, Rick, there's an ad in Broadcasting Magazine, which is a trade journal. There's an ad in Broadcasting Magazine. You should answer. And I said, why? And he said, it's in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
And I said, do I want to go back to Pittsburgh? And he said, you never see a big station like WQED advertising for a local producer,
Yeah.
which is essentially what I was doing in South Carolina. He said, you should send a tape. So my station in South Carolina had just sent me to Australia for 28 days. I was loving my job.
Yeah.
It was really great. And
Oh, wow.
so, of course, that's when you get a new job. When you don't need it. And,
Yeah.
I sent in a tape we did sort of the cameraman who I worked with, Buck Brinson, who I worked with in Australia. Before we left, he said, well, in addition to the program we're going to make, which was about an arts festival, the Spoleto Arts Festival in Melbourne, he said, let's do another documentary about our trip,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
a travelogue, and a goofy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we made a show called The Slightly Wacky Aussie Doco. Because in Australia, everybody say, oh, you're making a doco.
Yeah.
And
That
I
sounds...
thought it was so important that we say Aussie, but they never say Aussie. It's Aussie.
Oh, okay.
Even though it's Australia, they say Aussie when you shorten it. But they shorten words and add O on the end of words.
It's like when you give a hockey player a nickname. Like they...
Oh, actually, someone in the show talks about that.
Oh, really?
If the name is short, we add something on.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
the name is long, we cut it short.
Yeah. It's like Halsey, Cross, or like
Exactly.
Cross is like something different, but it's either O or E at the end of everyone's name.
And so, anyway, WQED called and said, we'd like to meet you. Why don't you come visit your parents?
Oh.
They didn't even, I always hold it against them. They didn't even pay for me to come to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And
We recommend you
I
stop at
came
your
up and
parents'
had, when I came, the woman said, please plan to spend the day. And I think I had like 8 interviews.
Yeah.
And I thought like, wow, this is extensive.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they offered me the job.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
There were still things I wanted to do in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And I said, I need some time to make this decision.
Uh-huh.
And they gave it to me.
Oh, wow.
Then when I came to Pittsburgh in 1987, and, I don't think I've ever regretted it.
Yeah.
It was lonely at first. I left all my friends behind. You have to make a whole new set of friends. And
So you
everything.
kind of had to restart when you came back.
Yeah, but it was okay. And,
Yeah.
I can't complain about, what they've allowed me to do at WQED.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine what, like, me growing up here, if you would have stayed there, like what my childhood and what growing up, like
That's very
I
nice,
went to
thanks.
Central Catholic and I had a Pittsburgh history class in there. And I want to say I've seen 4 or 5 of your documentaries in that. And then just from watching WQED and stuff, I always love watching it. I had a question about some of them for you. And it was, which one do you think people recognize you for the most? Like if they see you on the street, they say, oh, you're the one who narrated.
Oh, you
which one do you get noticed for the most?
No question. Kennywood Memories.
Kennywood Memories?
I mean, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
If you go outside Pittsburgh, it's a hot dog program.
Okay.
Okay.
I love a hot dog program.
We were actually going to touch on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got to watch that for the first time actually a couple days ago. I saw they have a giant poster sign of it at D's 6-packs and dogs.
No, after they closed, it's gone.
Oh, is it missing now?
It used to be on that door.
Yeah, on the door. Okay.
And I wondered if something happened, when the
In
smoke
the
was
fi-
in there
yeah.
or something like that. And I'd say, I'll give them a new one because I have
Yeah.
them. I should talk to Dino about that.
Yeah. I've seen it multiple times, and I was just wondering, in your take, where do you think like D's ranks among like hot dogs in Pittsburgh? Do you think it's top notch, or would you say like the originals when that was around, or what would you say is your favorite hot dog in Pittsburgh?
Well, oddly enough, we were editing a hot dog program at WQED one evening when the guard came back and said, there's a gentleman here who wants to talk to you. And I came out and he said, we just heard through the grapevine that you're doing a show about hot dogs and we're going to open a hot dog shop in Regent Square. Well, I was living in Regent Square.
Yeah.
And I said, where? And he says, in the gun shop. And I said, this is like what everyone dreams of.
Yeah.
The gun shop becoming a hot dog place. And then they bought the dry cleaner next door.
Right.
To make that other room. So, at first it was just the gun shop and then there. And, so D's didn't exist when we made a hot dog program. The last story in the show, however, is the O, which I think was a really, really great hot dog place. And a great leveler. The woman who hired me at WQED, Nancy Lavin, she always said the O is the most urban place in Pittsburgh. It's a place where everyone comes, and at that point it was open 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I love to tell the story that the first program I made at WQED was about organ transplants.
Oh, okay.
Because in 1987, when I came here, Pittsburgh was the world capital of organ transplants.
Oh, okay.
More organ transplants were done in Pittsburgh that year than in the rest of the world combined.
Wow.
Yes, because of Dr. Starzl, who had brought cyclosporin, which was the anti-rejection drug.
Okay.
He had done a lot of work in Denver, and they lured him away from Denver to bring him here.
Okay. And what year did you say this was? Sorry.
1987.
Okay.
So I did a show. My first show at QED was called Transplant Town. And we did it because this group called TRIO, Transplant Recipients International Organization, TRIO, was having their world meeting here that year. And they said, we're going to have a program that's on while this meeting of transplant recipients happens. And, so I had to start learning all about organ transplants and all of this, but I didn't want it to be too stuffy. The joke of the program, if you ever get to see it, occasionally it airs, is I was trying to think, like, what can I do? And the show has all organ music.
Oh, okay.
It's never mentioned. But
Yeah.
if you're listening and you're like, why do you keep hearing this organ? It's because it's organ transplants. Anyway, we also wanted to see if we could be in the operating room with Dr. Starzl.
Oh, okay.
And we went through all the rigmarole to get that. They had some footage, which we knew existed, but we wanted to see if we could shoot our own. And so, you had to be up at like 4 o'clock. You had to, get hooded, a hairnet and all suited up and everything, and all the camera equipment and things. And it was a lot more camera equipment back then than it is now. And so we did all of that. We get there and, getting ready, and we're all ready and everything. And something happened and the organ didn't show up.
Oh, no.
Something went wrong with the donor organ.
Uh-huh.
So they canceled everything.
Oh, no.
And it was probably like 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we had gone back up to his office with Dr. Starzl, and he goes, I am famished. Let's go to the O.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I went to the O.
Oh, really?
It was with Dr. It was 1987.
Yeah.
At like 8 in the morning.
Yes, it was open 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, I want to go get a hot dog.
Yeah.
And so we walked down the hill with Dr. Starzl, went in, and he goes, I don't have any money. And he goes, I'll find a med student. And then, I love the O. Hot dog places, I think D's is extraordinary. I mean, I really like it. I also like Jim's Hot Dogs in West Mifflin.
Okay. I'm familiar.
And if they had natural casing wieners,
Yeah.
they would win because they're so careful
Yeah.
and they have the best toppings.
Oh,
They
yeah,
have
yeah.
Unusual toppings. If you get I don't like sauerkraut.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'll put up with it.
Yeah.
But if you get a kraut dog there,
Uh-huh.
they have a special secret sauce too. but
Okay.
They won't tell you what's in it.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah.
So there's a secret sauce.
Oh, yeah, it makes it
mustard,
better.
Secret sauce, onions, and sauerkraut.
Mm-hmm.
They put the sauerkraut. They take the sauerkraut. They put it on the flat top and they grill it.
Oh, okay.
And then,
Has like a crust on it, kind of.
well, a little crust.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they put it on top of the hot dog and they put it under a broiler till the ends of the sauerkraut turn black.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's really good. It becomes crunchy.
I was going to say it
sauerkraut.
has more of a texture then and completely
Yeah.
different.
So that's Jim's Hot Dogs. I like them. I also like Shorty's in Washington, PA. I don't
Oh,
know if you've
okay.
ever been there. Yeah, it's a good little place. In fact, I did a show for recently, 3 years ago, for my Nebby series called Meet Pittsburgh.
I watched that yesterday.
Yeah, and the first shot is a woman at Shorty's.
Oh, is that where that is?
Yeah, screaming out an order. And then the last story is Shorty's because we had gone to that packing place in Washington, PA. Because Silver Star used to make hot dogs here. In fact, they made the hot dogs for the O,
Oh, okay.
but they don't make anything in McKees Rocks anymore.
Huh, yeah.
Everything's made in Michigan.
Yeah.
But they still make hot dogs down there at Albert's Meats
Oh, okay.
in
Good.
Washington, PA. And they make skinless and natural casing wieners. And I can find them at the Giant Eagle,
Oh, yeah.
and I really like their stuff. So,
That's something when you get older and have like a more refined palate, when you're not just like the kid with the ketchup on it. Like when you get that nice crack from the casing,
no question. I think
it's so good. And the juices, like, oh, yeah. And the whole hot dog with the toppings, whatever you have.
natural casing is I say is the crucial factor.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't remember. How did we get here?
We were talking about, since you brought the hot dog up, it's something we discuss on the show regularly. And I believe you questioned at the beginning of the show is whether or not a hot dog is a sandwich. Did you come down on one side or the other?
No.
Or maybe I'm thinking of something else. Well, I'm asking you in general then. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I think yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's meat between bread. Yeah, it's in the sandwich family.
The best argument I've heard is like a submarine sandwich is essentially the same elongated hot dog bun.
Right.
And that's considered a sandwich. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Spiritually, I don't know if it feels like one because I saw it like listed under a sandwich with like a club sandwich and a burger and like a chicken sandwich and then a hot dog, and it just didn't feel right. But I guess it is.
I can understand the dilemma. Yeah, but
It's more of a moral question, yeah.
yeah, but it's a good point. If you get like a big smoked sausage,
Right.
is that a sandwich
Yeah.
as opposed to a hot dog?
At what point is the
Actually,
line?
I was more when you were talking about the sandwich you had upstairs. When I did the sandwich program, Sandwiches That You Will Like, we asked everyone we interviewed, what's more important, the bread or the filling? I mean, there's no given answer, but you said you loved the bread. At this
Yeah,
time.
that's the first time I would say like the bread took the cake, because I would 100% of the time always say the filling, because like I definitely love my bread, but I feel like that's more of something to compromise on. Like I could take any bread and manage what I'm eating as long as the filling's good inside. But I tell you what, the meatball hoagie here at 565, I tell you, it was good. The breading was impressive.
Excellent.
I love those little, like, Bellevue's really good for it. There's, a couple little, like, kind of diner feels. Dari Villa next door is really good. There's one, I think Joe's Rusty Nail across the street. They're just nice, come in, get a good breakfast kind of thing. And I love it because it's walking distance for me. and I love Bellevue. I've only been here for probably a year and a half, but since I've been doing or I guess it's been longer than that. Jeez, where has time gone? It's been like 3 years, but yeah, I love it here. You sent me a picture for putting when I was putting together the little collage for everything, and you're holding up this candy bar. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is? The people watching, it's coming up on the screen.
Okay. It was, I was looking as an old photo album because it was someone's birthday and I was looking for pictures of her. And I saw that when I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah. So this would have been what, in the 80s?
It would have been in the mid 80s. Yes. It's in Montreal.
Okay. So this is before you came back to Pittsburgh.
Before I came back to Pittsburgh, and I had scanned it because I still have a 4-way text with some friends from South Carolina who I worked with, and I was going to put these pictures of my friend Sandy up for her birthday, and I saw that, and I knew that one of the other guys on the 4-way text, Buck, who used to be my cameraman, took that picture of me in Montreal. And I'm holding up a Mr. Big candy bar next to my head. And it was just, a goofy moment.
Oh, yeah. But no, the reason I even brought it up is because you were saying the mid-'80s, and I was thinking, well, this is probably where you were kind of at that point in your life, so people can kind of put a picture to where you would have been at that time.
Right. That's about when I came to QED. I would come to QED not long after that. There's an international public television conference called Input. International Public Television.
Yeah. I always love the acronyms that they kind of go out of their way to make it work.
Yeah, but that works okay. That's a good one.
That one does. Some of them are like, okay, you're putting extra letters in there.
Or the acronyms that are one letter less than the actual word.
I hate that, yeah. Or the abbreviations for stuff like that. But we interrupted you for something dumb, so go on, please.
No, that was it. That was just, that's why I was in Montreal, and we were looking at, Canadian candy bars.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if we have Mr. Biggs here or not.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen one, no. But
I've just heard of the band, I think. They do Next to Be With You, right? Isn't that Mr. Big, Jeremy?
I'm a candy fan and a music fan, but I don't know either one of these.
We'll have to check it out. I knew we'd need a reason to search the internet, Jeremy.
Mr. Big. That's like vaguely
Come on,
familiar.
little girl.
Oh, that's familiar.
Yeah, okay. Or something like that.
I'll have to dig up my old cassettes and see if I can find it.
I didn't practice my voice today, so we won't get too far into that. So when you're making films and stuff, you narrate a lot, you produce, you write. What's your favorite aspect of putting together a film?
All of them.
Okay.
I mean, I love the variety of that.
Yeah.
And I love that, sometimes you're out and you're talking to people, and I love the research. I love the gathering of material and working with a crew and, interviewing people and trying to get good B-roll, with just things happening and stuff like that. And
that's interesting.
I also love the editing.
Yeah. I never thought, and especially in documentaries, you need the B-roll and the background things. Yeah. How do you determine? You just try to get people like going about their day? Like it seems like most of it you kind of want it to be candid.
Yeah, I mean, we want people to do stuff that they would normally do if we weren't there.
Right.
And it's funny because I think, like you mentioned Guy Fieri at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I know that when he does a thing, they shut the place down.
Yeah.
We have never done that.
Uh-huh.
We want all the people. We want to capture.
Right. Yeah.
that makes sense. Like keep it as natural as possible, rather.
Right.
Than,
Yeah.
That's why, like if you watch like a main versus food episode, I love that they're interacting with the people who are specifically there.
Well, I mean, we used to love that. We would call it. It's funny because some of the shows were done before non-linear editing.
Okay.
And these things were harder to do back then. We always called them an explosion of voices when we had interviewed a lot of people, like at a hot dog place or something like that. By the time we get to hot dogs, we're into non-linear editing, which made them a lot easier.
Okay.
Because you didn't lose quality when you move things around.
So it would hurt the quality if you had to like edit and
in the old
rearrange.
days, when you came down a generation, when you say, I want to move that over there, and then you'd lose a generation.
So it's like a copy of a copy of a copy, and then you lose it throughout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you lose quality. So that used to be a concern. It's not a concern anymore.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's still fun and energizing. I think when you get to the editing process to see these things start to come together and how can you mix things up and all of that. So,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, like, how's like the market for things out? Like growing up, I loved going to like Blockbuster and getting a video. Like, you know, how has like the distribution from like video to DVD, streaming, and all that for like you? How has that like been different in terms of how you approach things or market yourself?
I think people don't buy hard copies anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. I mean, we still sell them.
Yeah.
And actually, I put an Amy Winehouse DVD in my player yesterday. That was, and I thought, like, why haven't I looked at this DVD?
Yeah. Everything is just so easy to stream or whatever, and that's what I've been watching.
It's like a cookbook. I have a bunch of cookbooks, but I never look at them. I just, I got this. What do I do? And I just Google it.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes me nervous sometimes because I feel like people almost rely too much on things. Like, if I'm worried about something, or if I don't know how to get somewhere, I'll just look it up. I'll just do that. And like we're relying on GPS or like cooking, like you said, I'll just look it up. And like I feel like people have lost kind of that. Like that muscle might atrophy for people because they're too reliant on. Oh, I don't need to figure it out. Like I don't know either of your phone numbers. And, like, we don't need to anymore. But if my phone went dead, like, I don't think I could drive or contact anyone anywhere. Like, how do I even go places?
Do you remember your family's phone number when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same.
Do you know your grandmother's phone number?
I don't know my grandmother's.
I still know my grandmother. I mean, she's been dead for a long time.
I feel like that's our saving grace.
I know that because back then I needed to know it. Exactly. If I got it today, I would have no idea.
Like, do your kids know your phone number?
No.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
That's kind of weird to think. I feel like we're in that transitional generation where it was still like not that many people had cell phones when we were young kids, and it was still like the house phone, and you needed to know the number if you wanted to call somebody. You didn't have contacts.
Yeah,
to just look up.
I am so old that when I was a kid, telephone numbers still had an exchange at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, our number in Bethel Park was Tennyson 57639.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it's funny because I mentioned it to some people from, you know, there's a strip club in Bethel called the Tennyson. So they had that name, the strip club, and the phone number. And I said, well, no, that was Tennyson, the poet.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that someone picked that up and the name of this.
You just so happen to be reading the articles in Playboy. It seems strange. It seems strange to keep finding yourself in this situation.
My grandmother, who lived in Brookline, her number was Philbrook 11169.
Oh, yeah.
And Philbrook was her exchange. And I mean, it was just you had to find those letters on the,
Oh, wow.
By the time I'm in high school, it was 835 instead of Tennyson 5. But I'm old enough to remember exchanges when it was sort of literary almost.
Yeah.
In fact, I think, who wrote Butterfield 8? That was a telephone exchange, Butterfield 8.
Uh-huh.
But it's the title of a classic American novel.
Huh, no, I don't know that one.
I'm drawing a blank on the author's name, but you can look it up.
Well, speaking,
you can just Google it.
Speaking of kind of going the way of streaming things and stuff, you do a vinyl night, right?
I do.
In Squirrel Hill. Now, I love vinyl, and I like that kind of like, because it's so almost like the antithesis of what streaming is. It's like, it's like a thing, it's tangible, it's right there. It's not, I mean, you can get new ones that are nice, but it's not always perfect. And there's almost like a perfection in the imperfections. Like, it's an experience versus like something you have on.
Well, I mean, I don't know why I kept my vinyl.
Yeah.
Except for one assistant editor at the time. Now he became just an editor, and that Matt Conrad, a very good friend of mine, he knew that I had all this vinyl, and when he said, "Can I just come get some?" I wasn't doing anything with it. It was just sitting in my spare bedroom. And I said, "Yeah, come get what you want." And he carried out, milk cartons, milk crates full of vinyl, and that's fine. Now I realize what he took. Like, he took all my Ramones and all the Clash, and things like that. Now
The stuff you see at the exchange going for $50.
Exactly. But no, the thing I play records at the Independent Brewing Company,
right?
Which is on Shady Avenue in Squirrel Hill on Wednesday nights. Those people have been really nice to me. There's two bars side by side.
Okay.
Hidden Harbor and independent brewing company owned by the same guys, Adam and Pete's brother Matt, and they've just been very nice to me. Early on in their history, they called and said, "Hey, we don't want to upset you, but we named a drink after you." And I said, "That's totally cool."
Yeah.
And I'm not upset at all. And so I went by and I met them and all of that, and so I became friends. And those bars were exactly halfway between WQED and my home in Regent Square.
Oh, yeah.
When there was a bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just became friends.
Yeah.
And I mean, I learned a lot about rum at Hidden
Yeah.
Harbor, and it was just fun to know those guys. And so I saw on Facebook early on in the pandemic, well, in July of 2020, it said, it was Pete's birthday. Pete Kurzweg, he's the owner, one of the owners. It said Pete's Kurzweg's birthday, and I texted him and I said, "Hey, are you at the bar?" And he said, "I am." The bar wasn't open.
Yeah.
He said, "But if you're coming, come early." And I said, "Like now?" And he says, "Yeah, it was like 4:00 in the afternoon. I'd made cookies."
Oh.
I'd made cookies, and I took them to him. It was like 4:00. We sat at a table outside and had a beer. And he goes, "I'm sorry." He said, "I got to go. I'm playing records." And I said, "What do you mean you're playing records?"
Yeah.
And he said, "We play vinyl here on Wednesday nights." And then I never noticed it on the front of the bar. It
Yeah.
says beer, cocktails, vinyl.
Oh, okay.
But it's just Wednesday nights. But he has a big bookshelf.
Uh-huh.
And they play vinyl all the time in there. The
Oh,
bartenders
okay.
do. But it's just, a sort of special gig on Wednesday nights. They make a point of it. And Pete, for the first couple of weeks that I did it, Pete played with me. We would,
Okay, yeah.
It's fun to play with someone, see what they play.
Right.
You can totally ignore it, or you can
Yeah.
try to top
feed
it
off it.
or
Yeah.
whatever. And I've got a couple guys that have come in and played with me. When the Rolling Stones were coming to town, Doug Oster called me and he goes, "Hey, I have a lot of Stones. Can I come
Oh, yeah, yeah.
with you?" And I said, "Sure." And my friend Lance Jones, who used to be the general manager of Star Lake, like he's met
okay.
all the
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been there several times. And then one of the guys who started the Pittsburgh Vintage Mixer,
Okay.
Michael Lutz, he's come by too. And actually, he's challenged me now, and he wants to, probably before the end of the summer, do one Wednesday night. He wants to play all French music,
Oh, really?
which is really weird. But
Yeah.
because I've been doing that, I started to pay attention to vinyl again, in that at Goodwill shops,
Oh, okay.
vinyl is 79 cents.
Oh, yeah.
And it's mostly crap.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Eddie Arnold, Liberace, and Mantovani, and those kind of things. But every now and then, there's a jewel.
Oh, yeah.
So, you put up with a lot, but it's something that I enjoy.
Find the hidden gem for
Yeah.
70 cents that's probably worth.
Yeah, I found, and the thing is, they want to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I found a 10-disc set of William Steinberg conducts the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, okay.
And all the Beethoven's symphonies. 79 cents for 10
Oh,
records.
wow.
That's 7.9 cents.
That's barely saying, like, just have it.
Right. And then one time at a Goodwill in West Virginia, when I was traveling to south, I saw, oh, look, there's a Goodwill there. So I pulled in, and
Yeah.
just terrible records. Or the box not in perfect shape, but the record's in great shape.
Yeah.
George Harrison's Concert for Bangladesh, a 3-album set, 79 cents.
Oh, wow.
So, it's really good. And you have to look for those. I don't know. But
I guess if you wade through enough of it, you'll find a gem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. I don't know why I enjoy it so much, but it's become like a little routine. On Wednesday nights, I play records.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's...
It means that at home, I go through records,
yeah.
pack a bag, and, go.
Absolutely.
I'm old school myself. I just recently got Spotify. I would rather be listening to records at home in a way too. I like what Chris said. I like something's perfect about the imperfections.
I
I've
like the
always liked
sound that
too.
you can hear the needle on the record while there's not anything playing. Just the sound of the going before the sound and in between the sounds.
Something about the turntables there.
Yeah.
If you're playing the last cut on the side, it'll tend to start
Yeah.
repeat, and then you just have to touch it with your finger.
Yeah.
It moves on. So
Well, we have to ask the big question about what is in your drink then that's named after you. Do you know?
Oh, yeah. It was basically an old-fashioned.
Oh, okay.
It was bonded bourbon and chocolate bitters.
Oh, okay.
And instead of simple syrup, it was maple syrup.
Oh, huh.
Because I just done 2 shows for PBS about breakfast.
Yeah.
And then the garnish was a piece of candied bacon, and they called it a gentleman's breakfast, or the Rick Sebak.
That sounds so good.
And then during the pandemic, when they were bottling cocktails, they bottled it,
Yeah.
and it was really good.
We at the restaurant I work at, we did a bacon infused bourbon and did something like that. Although it kind of didn't work out as much as we'd like, but that sounds good. We did a bacon infused, and it kind of got like oily.
Oh, there was no bacon in the drink. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the garnish.
Well, that's what they should have done. Is that sounds a lot better, just as a garnish, you know. Bacon's always good. You see it in the Bloody Marys and stuff. Although Bloody Marys go out of control with the garnishes.
I've seen one with like
I'm
a whole
not-
burger.
They have like I
part
said
of
it
the
before.
thing.
They have like a rotisserie chicken on it, and then they have like an entire basket of fries, like from the O. Like all this stuff it's like a feast on top of this like little pint glass. It's crazy, and then it's like it's like $80 or whatever. But like you are getting enough food for a table of people.
Thanksgiving dinner on top of
Right, and then the way they have it, they have these like trees that like go on them. I don't even know how the glass supports this. They have to have like like strengthened glass or whatever, like at the aquarium where you see it like an inch thick, because it has to hold like 20 pounds of food.
There's everything in the cup except a straw.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even like Bloody Marys that much, but
I don't like
me,
Bloody Marys.
me neither.
if I was hungry and could only get one drink, I would go with that, and I would leave full. Before we wrap up, I kind of have a question about people getting into filmmaking if they want to make documentaries or something. What is something that you've kind of learned along the way that you could help somebody, like something you would, some advice in making a documentary or a film or whatever they choose to do?
Well, it's so easy now that we
Yeah.
all carry a broadcast quality camera
Yeah.
in our pockets.
Right.
So, obviously learn how to do all that, learn all the basics. But I still say, and this is what I say to, like, if I go to a class or something, I think the most important thing is that you learn how to write. Because your initial contact is going to be some sort of written thing. And I know that when I applied for this job in Pittsburgh here, I asked the woman who hired me, Nancy, there were like 250 applicants. I said, how do you deal with that? She said, well, the first thing I do is if there is a misspelled word or a grammatical error, I just don't consider it.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, that's really important. I mean, not that it was harder back then because you were typing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's probably taking out half the competition right there, at least,
Right.
just with grammatical
And so
errors.
I just always say that to kids, you got to know that grammar. You got to, subject's got to agree with the predicate, and you got to do all that kind of stuff and know all that background, as well as, the filmmaking stuff. So, you've got to be naturally curious.
Yeah.
And, keep that up. That's why I did a series called Nebby, because I said that's, Pittsburgh, we know the word Nebby, but that's what you got to be. You got to be Nebby. You got to, be interested in everything. And I also, try to tell people that one thing I learned early on is when you interview somebody, you get back exactly what you put out. Mm-hmm. So I'm sort of blessed with a face that looks like I'm smiling all the time.
You have, some people don't have that, and you have like a very approachable tone and look.
Right. So that helps.
Yeah.
And generally, I'm not doing hard-hitting, documentaries. I'm doing things about people that people love.
Yeah.
That's sort of the niche I found early on, and it's really fun. And there are enough people doing the other kind of work that I don't have to worry about that. And so if the interest you have and the joy you get in it when you asking questions, it's going to come right back at you. Mm-hmm. Except in really rare cases.
Yeah.
And so that's important. I said, you can tell that on the news. You can tell how interested the reporter is just by the response of the person. If it's a politician and it's sort of a rote answer, that kind of thing. But if it's lively and fun, that's because the person who's asking the questions is putting out that energy. I just find that so many times people are so interested in the mechanics of the, taking the picture, that they're not concerned about that energy of the question and the energy of the information. So I always remember a guy contacted me. He must have sent a, email or something, but he said, I'm thinking about quitting my job because I watched your hot dog program. Everyone in that show with their hot dog places is so happy.
Yeah.
And my response to him, I said, well, maybe they're not all that happy, but I was that happy.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you're seeing some of that
Yeah.
everybody is happy that we were there.
Right.
And that we were, putting a spotlight on their place. And,
Yeah. You're catching them all on a good day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, that's part of the trick. So that's what I'd say. That, you learn how to write, learn how to read, learn how to, play with your phone. I use a simple app called Pinnacle Studio to edit things.
Yeah.
That seems to still work fine.
Yeah.
And one of the guys taught me that in the back of a van one time.
Yeah.
When we were, doing a long trip. Glenn Siska taught me how to use Pinnacle Studio.
Yeah. I think that is huge kind of with the documentaries or whatever doing, because you were saying how like everybody has a camera in their phone, which means like everyone can do it, which also means everyone can do it, like kind of there's good and bad. So you like, just because everyone can do it now means maybe people don't have the same enthusiasm. So when you do it and you are curious, like you said, I love the natural curiosity and like you're passionate about it, like having a good camera and stuff works, but like if you're not, enthusiastic about it, then you're just filming stuff.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing even with the interview process. You said you had to like write to look good, and then once you're in there, like you do need to bring an enthusiastic voice and a passion for learning or whatever it is to make sure that you're more marketable. Like you need to be able to show.
Yeah, you have
your
to
interests.
set yourself apart when something's oversaturated like that, and obviously grammatical errors is kind of the low-hanging fruit there. But
Well, actually, but I also say I'm a person who thinks there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Oh, definitely.
It's, even the most simple question is sometimes the best.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do this? Or,
That's
why do you do this?
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm learning more when I get older. I ask people questions all the time because I just want to know how it works. Like, because if you tell me to do something, like I can do it, but if you tell me why I should go do it, then like I'll remember that and it'll be a new like learned behavior. If you tell me, oh, don't stick a fork in the thing because you're going to get electrocuted versus just don't go over there with silverware, like, well, maybe I don't care as much, but if, I learned that way, that's extreme, but like,
Yeah.
But I love the natural curiosity or whatever. I think that's important with people, especially if you want to kind of do your own thing. Like I wanted to interview people. Well, we wanted to just talk to each other and like have fun and make jokes. And then we want to talk about sports. And then it's like, well, I want to do this and this. It's, well, I don't know how to edit. I don't know anything about interviewing. I don't know anything about sound. So let's read. Let's watch a video on YouTube. Let's do all this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but now I have like cameras on me and I'm interviewing legendary Rick Sebak right now. Like at a stage, like this is so cool to me. Like this is blowing my mind, and I'm not taking it for granted. Like
we
it's
still
awesome.
feel that. I still feel
Yeah.
that. We've been working this week we did a story at the Steel City Salt Company in Millville.
Okay.
And just putting it together, you get that same like, wow, look what we get to do.
Mm-hmm. Millville has some cool spots too. I was watching the other documentary on Millville.
My Joys of Millville.
But I can't recommend your documentaries enough. Go back and watch them. I was just watching. There was the Kennywood Memories, but then there was like the bonus footage one. I was watching that again yesterday, and it kind of wraps up with what you were saying earlier about people, you not wanting people to wave at you. I think you mentioned in it, but it was like 30 years ago. So it's like the time capsule waving at you, and you wanted to wave back kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that's awesome. Like, you don't want it in that, but looking back on it, it's nice to have that extra footage.
Yeah, no, it's kind of magical. And, when you realize, we're looking at old footage. But, but how lucky am I? That,
Yeah.
I work at a place where we were able to keep the footage for 30 years and then, do more with it. And then this new bar up in Allentown,
Okay.
Bottle Rocket. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, it's really great. And it used to be the Lyceum for St. George's Church, I think, which is like, it has a big bar
Oh, no.
and a theater.
Oh, okay.
And they have a film club, and they invited me up, and they showed Kennywood Memories. It sold out. It was just amazing. Then they did this week. They did the strip show.
Oh, okay.
And so that's been totally fun. But because you did the thing about things to do this week in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
or whatever, this Friday, I'm going to do something which I find totally cool.
Okay.
It was an unexpected invitation, and an old Kurt Vonnegut quote from Cat's Cradle.
Yeah.
In there, there's I don't know if you've ever read Cat's Cradle, but there's a made-up religion called Bokononism.
Okay.
And one of the tenets of Bokononism is unexpected travel plans are dancing lessons from God.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've changed that to being unexpected invitations are dancing lessons from God. And this is a little bit of both because there's a little travel involved. But this Friday I'm going to Waynesburg.
Oh, okay.
Which is, southbound 79, almost in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And it's in Greene County.
There's a college or university out there, right?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yes. And anyway, they since the 1890s, July 29th has been rain day in Waynesburg. And it was because somebody said, it rains every year on my birthday, July 29th.
Yeah.
And they've made it a town celebration every year. And they think it's going to rain.
Yeah. Are they pretty consistent?
Yeah, it's amazing. They have statistics like of 100 and some years.
Wow.
On those 114 days it has rained.
Yeah.
But since the 1930s, they've asked a variety of celebrities to bet that it won't rain. And you bet a hat.
Okay.
So they called me and asked me if I would be the celebrity.
Yeah.
So the list of celebrities is really incredible.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it includes everybody from the Three Stooges, Bing Crosby.
Oh, wow.
Arnie Palmer. Lots of local sports guys.
Yeah.
Bob Prince. Over the years, Eleanor Shano, who used to be on Channel 4, and then she was on Channel 16 with us. She's twice did it. It's just an incredible list of people and local celebrities and national celebrities. So this year I have that honor.
And that's this Friday?
That's this Friday, July 29th. And, there's a town celebration. There's a
Have you checked
Miss
the forecast
Rain Day
yet?
Selected.
Have you checked the forecast yet?
No. I just know it's not going to rain. I have a new convertible. I'm driving.
Well, you got to show up in that.
I know.
Absolutely, and wear velvet and stuff. Yeah.
So that's this Friday, and I'm looking forward to that. And then there's going to be a barbecue. I mean, a rib cook-off in Canonsburg.
That sounds incredible.
Rusty Gold Brewing. I don't know Rusty Gold Brewing, but they invited me to be a judge. So I think that's the first weekend in August.
Well, that sounds exciting as well.
So those are two good things that I'm looking forward to doing. Because it's just fun to drive around and learn about this whole area. And
it really is.
I don't get tired of Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh. It's just, good
Well,
stuff.
you definitely make it more enjoyable for everyone who lives here and wants to learn about it. And like I said, your documentaries, I've watched my entire life, and I still watch over, and I have my kids watch and stuff. So,
thank you for letting me do this.
Oh, we appreciate having you on.
you.
We'll. I mean, not that anybody doesn't know who you are that's watching this, but we'll put all your stuff in our info, and this can be. If you're just listening, go back, watch it on YouTube. We'll have the video. If you're just watching, make sure you download the podcast and subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. But Rick, thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.
coming on. For Sports Guy J.P. For the Egghead, I am Chris.
I'm going to say is I'm so happy that I was allowed to be part of your day.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. We hope you had a good time. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the show to catch the latest episodes and share with your friends. We can't promise not to embarrass you. And if you just can't get enough, follow us on Instagram at Poor Man's Podcast 412, Twitter at Poor Man's Pod 412, and Facebook. This is Pittsburgh's own Poor Man's Podcast signing off. See you next week.